Nee, geen stem van de minister, dus. Hij kan gewoon beginnen.
Maar dan moet ik zelf niet aankondigen dat hij in de agenda zit. Dan moet ik ook nog niet zeggen dat hij op de agenda staat. That you will listen and look to this ceremony. Tonight we are apart, but we're also together. It is a new experience for us. There might be some problems. Yeah. I would like to say a special word of welcome to His Excellency, the Governor of Aruba, Mr. Alfonso Boekhout. Also to the President and the other members of the Parliament, to Her Excellency, the Prime Minister, Mrs. Evelien Wever-Kroes. Welcome to His Excellency, the Minister of Education, Science and Sustainable Development, Dr. Rudy Lampe. And welcome to all the representatives of or relations of the university in the public and the private sector. Welcome to the President and the other members of the board of the university. Welcome to the Rector of the University of Aruba, Dr. Glenn Today. Welcome to the deans, the lecturers, and all the other present and former members of our academic community. And last but not least, an extra word of welcome to the keynote speaker of tonight, Mrs. Eva Roes. My name is Rein Schutter, and tonight I have the honor to be your MC. In daily life, I am a retired lecturer of the University of Aruba. I was pleasantly surprised to be asked being the MC for tonight. As you may know, I did this job various times before, but never as a retired member of the UA community. In the recent past, there is very often spoken of the old normal and of the new normal. Well, many things today are maybe results of the new normal, but my presence is typically old normal. I hope that this may give you a feeling of trust. Ladies and gentlemen, the central theme of the evening will be learning in the time of COVID-19. The agenda will be as follows. The Minister of Education, Science and Sustainable Development, Dr. Rudy Lampe, will open the academic year at a distance. And after that, our rector, Glenn Today, will say some wise words of welcome to us also at a distance. And then Mrs. Eva Roes will speak to us as a keynote speaker, and even then at a distance. To start with, the Minister of Education, Dr. Rudy Lampe, will give a speech and open the academic year. Dr. Lampe, the floor is yours.
Good evening, His Excellency, the Governor of Aruba, Her Excellency, the Prime Minister of Aruba, members of Parliament, and all the distinguished guests present at the opening of the academic year 2020-2021. The theme of this evening is very appropriate. The academia thinking on the times of crisis due to the COVID crisis. I ask you to give me the permission that I can say some words as an academic, more as a minister. I know that in the academia, the discussion is inherent to the academia, and differences of opinion is part of the academic life. As an organization is different, an organization cannot be divided. There is one hierarchy, there are rules, but in academia, by essence, there is dispute among the community of the academia. And the COVID crisis is setting us in front of a kind of war, like the book published in 2008 by a French philosopher, La Guerre Mondiale, the World War. A war between nature and humanity, because we have not treated well as human beings the Mother Earth. And now a small virus that we cannot see in this global village, the first global pandemic, and all our weapons, military weapons that we have developed, they are useless in front of such a small virus that is unseen. And in this global pandemia, and that's why I said as an academic, the word autonomy, in a certain sense, among in my discipline of sociologists, we say it is a paradigm that is outdated. We cannot anymore, within this ecological crisis, think from the logic of autonomy. And we have an expression in Papiamento, "Bas de nos mesmos cas." But the cas, nos cas, according to this book published in 2008 already, nos cas is this planet. It is a Mother Earth. And in that sense, the autonomy of nations is an outdated paradigm because we all have the responsibility to take care of Nos Cas. Nos Cas is this planet. We have only one home, that is Mother Earth. And we all have the responsibility to be united to take care of this Mother Earth. Bas de nos mesmos cas means that we as human beings have to be united, one humanity, to defend, to take care of Mother Earth. And maybe that is not accepted fully in the academic community. That's why I say it is inherent to academic communities to have discussions, disputes. And maybe what I said can be provocative, that autonomy is an outdated paradigm. That's why I said I'm not talking now as a politician or as a minister, but as an academic. And I really want to wish all the members of the University of Aruba success in this new academic year. The professors, the lecturers, and that this is just the beginning to start the academic discussion about the theme of the Corona crisis. And I wish all the students success in this new academic year. The University of Aruba, as the think tank, the intelligentsia of our community, we need your input in order to reinvent so many other things in this world. And the crisis that also hit Aruba so badly, we need all your input to reinvent our structures so that we can embrace a better future together, to protect, to take care, to defend the Mother Nature. Because this Corona crisis is, for me, like the cry of the earth, saying, it's enough. Please, please, human beings, take good care of me. And I wish you a very fruitful academic year. And through this, as a Minister of Education, Science, and Sustainable Development, I declare the academic year 2020-2021 as officially open. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Rui Lampe, for opening the academic year. Thank you, Mr. Lampe, for opening the academic year and for your interesting speech. Now I would like to give Dr. Today the opportunity to speak a word of welcome. You may realize that Mr. Today is not here at Aruba, but in the wonderful city of Groningen. And I can say that because Groningen is the town in the region of which I was born and risen, so I know it's a wonderful city. Because of the time lag of 6 hours, you will understand that Glenn Today is speaking at a time that he should attend to his bedroom, but he will speak to us. Therefore, an extra warm welcome for our 24/7 rector, Glenn Today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Reinschutter, as MC tonight. Good evening, honorable guests, our minister, students and staff of the University of Aruba, and on this particular occasion, everyone who has tuned in to this live streaming event. Complying to our legal framework, the official ceremony opening of the academic year of the University of Aruba is held on this day, which is the second Friday of September. Tonight, we do this for the 33rd time, and we celebrate our 32nd birthday as the University of Aruba. The university, in my view, is maturing nicely as an important entity within the Aruban community, as the minister also remarked. Today, it is the 11th of September, which is also the infamous date 9/11. On this day, it is thus fitting to reflect on the consequences of unexpected and unplanned events that shake the foundation on which we shape our lives in our communities. Tonight, we can look back to a very extraordinary academic year, which just passed behind us. The academic year 2019-2020, which started as any regular academic year. But during the second half of the year, the world surrounding the University of Aruba changed dramatically. The COVID-19 pandemic enveloped the world, and the landscape in which we take our responsibility to work together and educate our students is not the same as it has been for the last century. Because of this, we find ourselves with an obligation to adapt. We have adapted much in the past months and are still in the midst of a process of adaptation to the current changing conditions. The fact that we cannot be physically together in the aula of the university tonight to celebrate this opening ceremony is a symptom of these times. At the same time, the fact that we are holding this event, and I am participating live from about 8,000 kilometers and 6 time zones away, is a testament to what the University of Aruba is capable of today. It is because of this resilience within our academic community that we have been able to continue to run our programs, be it educational or research. Both scholars and students of our community, they are making tremendous efforts to cope with the peculiarities of distance learning and online education. Our staff is doing their best to work under these very, very unusual circumstances. Students are doing their best to study under home conditions, which are not always as forgiving and nurturing for studying as the university space can be. We have all made great sacrifices while staying the course. For this, on behalf of the University of Aruba Board of Trustees and Management, I want to publicly thank each and every one of you, all colleagues and all students, for your ongoing efforts. And let us not forget that during this crisis, the Aruba government goes through great lengths to secure funds for our institution to continue to operate. On behalf of the university, I also wish to thank the Aruban community for their support through our government. And now, looking ahead, this academic year will open with a total of 854 registered full-time students. We have 364 returning students and an impressive 490 new students. To serve this record number of students will require more efforts and puts additional strain and stress on all, the educators, the administration within the faculties and within the support organization, and of course, the students. These conditions ask of all of us to collaborate. By bundling our efforts and our actions, we will be able to embrace each of our students into our academic community and make them feel at home at the University of Aruba. We need to come together and support each other even more than before in and through these extraordinary times. We must also adapt personally. Most of us have not confronted a crisis situation like the COVID-19 pandemic before in our lives. This is new and uncharted territory. We will need to be at our most creative, dynamic, and agile to sail through this while maintaining the standards and principles of quality we are committed to. This also means we may make mistakes and need to be allowed some space for this. After experiencing the last semester of 2019-2020 with you, I am confident that our University of Aruba community will be able to rise to the challenges we will confront in this academic year 2020-2021. Today, I am asking that we reflect on the effect of our own behavior on the way the pandemic moves through our community. This illustrates the consequences of our thinking. When we think and behave in a rigid and overconfident way, attached to the past, the coronavirus spreads rapidly and uncontrollably. When we adapt our thinking and actions to best fit the conditions dynamically and with agility, we are better in control of the spread of the virus, and we keep the burden on our community and healthcare system manageable. This interaction illustrates that the pandemic demands us to think and behave differently. When we include the health and safety of all community members into our thinking, we are all safer. In the same way, when we think differently about how we work together and educate our students, we can improve our teaching and learning through this pandemic. Tonight, we invited a keynote speaker who will help us reflect on the power of awareness and how to cope with the lessons we learn in a crisis. Please listen with attention and help us behave collectively in a way which makes our university and our nation better communities by learning in these times of COVID-19. I thank you all for being with us tonight. Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you, Mr. Today, for your wise words. Now we have come to the highlight of tonight, our keynote speaker, Mrs. Eva Roos. Mrs. Eva Roos was born and risen in Sweden, but she now lives and works at Aruba, for instance, for the AZV. She studied psychology at several universities and institutes in Sweden and abroad. She is an expert in stress factors in difficult situations, and Mrs. Roos published several books at these and related subjects. And you will understand that this makes Mrs. Eva Roos the right person to help the university in difficult times as we experience them these days. Mrs. Roos' speech has been recorded in advance because she had to leave for Europe tonight. So listen to her discourse, Learning in the Time of COVID-19.
Good evening to honorable and distinguished audience. Protocol has been served and I have been properly introduced by the Master of Ceremonies. Thank you very much. I feel very honored to be invited and be in this event with you. Please allow me to share the following thoughts with you about how you and I and Aruba should cope with crisis. And please forgive me for my Swinglish, the combination of Swedish and English. For all human beings, the feelings of safety is very important, and also the possibility to develop ourselves and achieve our different goals. Motivation is a key drive within us, which urges us to look forward, to think forward, and act forward. Motivation can decline when we are exposed to things that we are not used to, situations that we never ever before could imagine could happen. Motivation is an action urge comprised of thoughts that provokes emotions and make us act to behave. It's very important for us that we feel safe and secure, since our motivation is dependent on how we think and feel. Now Aruba has been exposed to a huge disruption, the effects of the pandemic. Aruba is experiencing a trauma, a global and a mass and an island trauma that's producing lots of stress right now. It's a huge disruption in the way we used to live. It's a huge disruption in the way you were used to study and work at the University of Aruba. Our normal life have now been changed to the new normal. The pandemic is a life-altering situation with lots of uncertainties, job loss, financial loss, and loss of freedom. We have to deal with many more uncertain things than before. And because of that, it's completely normal that many of us is experiencing a high level of stress. When we experience stress, our motivation, our learning ability and cognitive skills are impacted in a negative way. And the effects of the pandemic is actually also a social crisis. People on Aruba who before the pandemic had struggles to survive will of course get even more stressors when they have to adapt to the new normal. As humans, we love to connect with others and be social. One of the hardest things for us is the feeling of being isolated, and we can react with grief, sadness, and also go into a depressive mood. There is a bucket of stresses we are being exposed to right now. Losing your daily contact with other students and friends, restrictions to our socialization, different ways of learning through virtual lessons for students and teachers, losing the daily and very important contact with fellow students and friends, losing financial stability, the risk of losing homes, restrictions to travel, losing future plans, general long-term uncertainty, increased personal danger by being stuck in an abusive environment, and also the re-experiencing of a trauma, the re-traumatization for people who have been traumatized before, like for example, like the closing of Lago or other personal traumas. So let's see how stress affects us in different ways. In my world of mental health and well-being, we're talking about the effects of the COVID-19 on people's mindsets. There are 3 levels of stress that are good to know. The first level is named normal stress. And that is the stress that we are exposed to under normal circumstances and that we can get rid of. We can adjust to it so we can calm down and feel good. It's like you go into a job or before to the university, and when you're there you focus and put attention on what to do and what to learn. And when the day is over, when you leave that environment, you can go home and you can calm down. That's the normal stress level. Then we have the second stress level. It's called cumulative stress. Cumulative stress. And that is the stress that locks us in. It has force, it has strength, it has duration, and it has direction. It's hard to get out of it, and that is what you and I are experiencing today. The cumulative stress is always around us right now, and it affects our thinking ability, our emotions, and our physiology. It affects our nervous systems, our pulse, our heart rate and blood pressure. And some of us can feel constantly overwhelmed, frustrated, irritated, and we can also get problem with memories, to memorize important information. Then we have the third level that is called the traumatic stress. That is the distress that a certain trauma can give us. It's when we are exposed directly or when we learn that it occurred to a family member or a friend, or when we are experiencing extreme exposure to adverse details of the traumatic event. This traumatic stress can block our rational thinking. We cannot focus, and it gives us difficulties to sleep, nightmares, flashbacks, an intense startle response. We are getting a lot of intense overreactions in our emotions and in our behaviors. I wonder if you ever have thought about why zebras, lions and tigers never get ulcer. Well, they can be exposed to threats all days, but they sleep well during the night. And they can wake up the morning after and they are in now, not in yesterday, all the threats, all the bad experiences they had, and not tomorrow, they are in now. And that is because they don't have the same brain as us, so they cannot think backward or forward. That is why they don't get ulcer. So, what happens in our brain when we are exposed to cumulative or traumatic stress? About 2 million years ago, our brain developed and we got a new brain installed on top of the first brain. The first brain is called the reptile brain or mammalian brain, and the new part of the brain, that is the cognitive brain, is called neocortex. Today's neuroscience has good knowledge of how our two parts of brains are functioning. The old mammalian brain consists of 7 major operational emotional systems for survival. We have systems for sexuality, for love, for attachment, bonding, taking care of our offsprings, for playing, and for rewarding ourselves. But we also have 3 emotional systems that are giving us very strong and intense emotions when we are exposed to threats. And those systems are the systems for fear, panic, and rage. Fear, panic, and rage. And those systems also trigger our fight and flight responses and heightens our pulse rate so we can gain almost explosive energy to fight or run. And this happens instinctively. The old part of the brain cannot think, but it can download fear and panic as survival tools for further use. And we can also be stuck in a freeze position, in a mood, where we're paralyzed and we do nothing. Even if we should need to run or fight, then we do nothing. Our new brain is smart, it's logical and it's rational, and it's designed to work together with the older parts. And we became emotional intelligent when those 2 parts started their joint venture about 2 million years ago. And our new brain can think forward and backward, and it's a very good problem-solving brain. The challenge for us today is to maintain and keep the balance between those 2 parts of the brain. Because when we are exposed to a threat, when we are exposed to an uncertain situation or a new situation that we interpret as a threat, then the first part of the brain can totally take over the cognitive part, the new brain, and we consult our emotions and lose the capacity to think rational and flexible. And we also lose the capacity to investigate if the actual threat really is that big threat towards us as we feel. We can actually consult our emotions, and then we act in a wrong or a different way that is not good for us. So what can happen is that the strong emotional systems will, so to speak, kidnap our thinking brain, and we feel stuck in our brain body's inability to calm down, and our capacity to problem solve will be diminished. Sometimes our emotions can be very strong and exaggerated, and severe stress are producing negative thoughts and worries, and we can develop cognitive distortions. That is, thinking distortions that will produce non-productive behaviors and solutions. In more extreme forms, cognitive distortions can be very harmful. I'm going to mention some of those cognitive distortions that I have noticed are in people's mindsets today in Aruba. Number one is catastrophic thinking. A lot of people are seeing only the worst possible outcomes of this situation. Disqualifying the positive. A lot of people are recognizing only the negative aspects of a situation and are ignoring the positive aspects. All or nothing thinking. That is the black and white thinking, and we think like it's like always or never or ever. It's only like that. Then we have the fortune telling. That is the belief that the situation will turn out badly and without adequate evidence, fortune telling. And the last one is called emotional reasoning. We think that everything we feel is true because we feel it. I mentioned that we also have an emotional system for rewards. Scientists today are calling it today our seeking system. So the reward system of our brain is called the seeking system. And the seeking system gives us and works totally opposite of the fear, panic and rage system. It gives us positive incentives like desire, hope, motivation, anticipation, social contacts. And this system, when it's activated, produces happy hormones. It's dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, oxytocin and adrenaline. And that gives us locomotion behavior, curiosity and an exploring behavior. The seeking system does not worry, and it gives us a lot of forward locomotive energy and behavior. But high levels of stress, of cumulative or traumatic stress, also diminish the seeking system's capacity to think clearly due to the effect of the strong emotions. If you ever have visited Europe and Greece, if you think about the capital of Athens, then you maybe can imagine all of the ancient historical buildings like Acropolis right now. About 300 years before Christ was born, there was a lot of Greek philosophers who were interested in how humans were thinking and which problem-solving techniques they were using. One of those Greek philosophers, his name was Socrates. Socrates walked along the streets in Athens, which at that time had about 240,000 residents, a small town in comparison with it now. Now Athens have more than 3 million residents. And Socrates, he talked to young and old people, since he was very interested in how they were thinking, why they were thinking like that, and if their thinking was healthy and problem-solving for them. He asked people to put their thoughts on trial and put their beliefs on trial to check the evidence for and against the thoughts that were negative and unhealthy for them. And Socrates, he became very popular in Athens. He opened so-called thinking schools and universities that was free of charge for the Greek people and children. And he claimed that there was always two different sides of what was the truth that people claimed. Socrates' aim was to encourage people to consider alternative ways of thinking and acting, and to be more aware of their own and others' thinking, to become aware of their different beliefs and assumptions. So Socrates literally helped people to think outside the box. He became very popular among the residents in Athens, but the government felt he became a threat. What would happen if all residents would think outside the box? So, sadly, Socrates was accused of attempts to incite the people, and he was also accused of corrupting the Athenian youth through his strange and bouncy questions. So Socrates was sent to death and died on his 70th birthday. Today in the Western world, psychologists and therapists like me and coaches are using Socrates' way of asking questions to help people get out of depressions, worries, anxiety disorders, phobias, or other thinking problems. And we do that through the cognitive way of working. So we steal Socrates' questions, and that, when we do that, that is actually helping millions of people to get out of their vicious thinking circles. And I'm going to give you some examples of the way that Socrates was stating his questions to the Athenian people. Is there an evidence for your thought right now? Is there an evidence for your thought? Is there an evidence contrary to your thought? If you look at the situation positive, how does that make a difference? Is there an alternative way to think, to looking at this problem? How could you rethink? What would happen if you change your thoughts to the opposite? How can you get out of your box? And what Socrates did then is that he activated the Greek people's seeking systems. When I first visited Aruba, 2004, there was, as I remember, more dirty roads than highways. Today, Aruba have more highways than dirty roads. And I would compare Socrates' way of encouraging thinking as building new highways on our brain. When we now are adjusting to the new normal of Aruba from an awareness of what cumulative and traumatic stress does to the brain, we can recognize this reactions and behaviors when you see them in people that you know, work and live with. Stress reactions can happen to all of us at any time. Having this awareness helps us to develop better understanding and compassion for ourselves and others, and to be kind and supportive. And this will help us to be able to work together under new circumstances, to live in the new normal, we're coming from a place of understanding, kindness and compassion can be a personal and a national behavior. We also have the Choco Wellness Project at University of Aruba, where I am one of the psychologists, where students can receive counseling from us. So finally, so what to do right now to keep yourself in a balanced mood? You can consciously work on relaxing your body every day so your emotions are not kidnapping your cognitive brain. I would encourage you to download free apps and watch YouTube videos and programs about meditation, relaxation and yoga, and practice to be in now. Practice to be in now, not in the past and not in the future. Science nowadays shows that if you practice 30 minutes relaxation a day, there will be a neural shift in your brain's emotional systems. It has also a repairing function. That is why it's very, very good. It will also enhance your seeking system. It will boost your curiosity and give you energy. It's also very good if you do some physical activity every day. Walk or walk and talk with a friend or a student, bike, swim or run. Read nice books with happy endings between your online studies. Watch happy ending movies. And work on improving relationships within the family. Talk every day with your friends and colleagues through FaceTime, through Zoom. And be aware of how you are thinking and challenge your thinking. And you can also write down your thoughts and question them, like Socrates did. Ask yourself, is this sentence that I wrote down something I can solve today? If you can solve it, then you do it today. Then solve it. And if you're writing things about the past, question that and ask yourself, can I really change the past? No. You cannot change what already have happened. You have to let go of it. Let go of it. And if you're thinking a lot about the future that yet not is here, what impact is those thoughts doing on you right now? Maybe it is catastrophic thoughts that you are experiencing. Swipe them away. Count backwards until worries and anxiety and stress is gone. So this is my summary. So keep in mind, do your emotional checkup every day and correct yourself to be in now. Decrease the frequency of unwanted emotions. Change them once they start. And remember, it's never too late to stop a problem or stop a negative attitude. And something that feels like an end can be a new beginning. Something that you have failed can be a learning process. It's never too late to change the way you're thinking. And good awareness of your failures is growing health. Look at threats as challenges. And remember, you are more talented than you think. You can still create your own future. And it's time to create your own future. And finally, A crisis can be a new development. Thank you very much for listening to me, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you, Mrs. Roos, for your interesting discourse. Mrs. Roos gives us hope in difficult times, and the University of Aruba got by her speech probably a better future. My honorable guests, the official part of the opening ceremony has come to an end. Thank you for listening. I would like to thank the speakers for their contributions, and I would also like to say thank you to all the staff members who did a wonderful technical job. And to end this meeting, I wish you a happy new academic year. Because of the circumstances, there will be no second part this evening, but you will be enlightened by what you heard, and you will be able to adapt. So you are free to enjoy the first evening in the academic year in your own way. There's really academic freedom. Thank you.